So if you're over the age of 25, you very likely already have some degenerative aging changes in your spine. Now, as a physical therapist, what I get to see is I get to see people through each decade of life, so it's highly motivating for me to take care of myself. And what I want to do for you today is give you some perspective on what I'm seeing through these decades and what you can do to keep your low back in good shape and minimize some of those aging things through the decades, and also to help you reduce pain in your low back as we get older. One of the most important things I think you can do is start to move more and add variety to your movement. When we're thinking about the lumbar spine, we want to look at the way that it's designed. I'm not going to give you an in-depth crazy anatomy lesson here, but let's look at a couple things in the markers of the bones. So the way that the spine is organized, where the bones overlap, there is what's called a facet joint. And these two interlocking parts here will overlap as you go from flexion and back into extension of the spine. Now, this is the common area where people get the most pain, and a lot of people end up with injections. And there's a lot you can do to prevent that. One of the first things you should think about is, one, we shouldn't be bending from our low back to pick nearly anything up in most cases. We're going to create a lot more wear and tear on the spine. So if you've developed a habit of bending straight forward and not bending from your hips, that's one of the best things you can start to do, is start to keep the spine in a good position and bend from the hips instead. And that's going to allow you to maintain your inward curve in the spine there, that lumbar lordosis, and keep the abdominals slightly in too to support your low back and to oppose the shearing forces. When we bend forward, what happens is the disc is actually going to travel this way. So that's why a lot of times if someone goes to bend over and pick up a pencil or something like that and they feel something give, that's usually the disc that's going out. And it's not so much that it's not so much that it was the pencil itself or whatever it is that you picked up. It was the final straw that broke the camel's back, so to say, when you were bending forward, and all those times you've probably done it many times before. So I highly encourage people to avoid repeated flexion through the spine. Always, the cardinal rule here, guys, is take up all available range of motion at the hips first. It's going to be one of the best things you can do for yourself. Now, as we've talked about in other Learn Your Body Thursdays videos, we know that this is a closed chain system, right? In the previous videos when we were talking about the sacrum last week and also the hip and the episodes before that, the next best thing you can do for yourself is keep your hips mobile and strong. By doing so, by keeping the hips mobile and strong, making sure that your hip flexors aren't getting too tight, stretching those out, stretching out the hamstrings, stretching out the piriformis. I have a video on improving your piriformis stretch that you can check out on my channel, improving your hamstring stretch that you can check out on my channel. There's a million different things like that. And also, you know, for the right person, as long as you don't have hypermobility syndromes, stretching can be a good thing. I highly encourage people to get some deep tissue work like Rolfing, myofascial release, highly effective techniques to help you improve your mobility and actually get some more out of your stretching. Yoga can be really good for people too, especially if you're not prone to hypermobility. And then also another one that works on strength and flexibility at the same time is Pilates. If you have low back pain or degenerative changes in your spine, it might be good to start with using Pilates equipment versus taking a mat Pilates class, for instance. So you're keeping your hips mobile and strong. You're keeping the pelvis mobile and strong. You're working on some of those deep core stabilizers in the front, doing some core stability, not like crunches, not things like that. Strengthening those deep abs through breathing and finding like a personal trainer or physical therapist that can help you train your transverse abdominis, pelvic floor in conjunction with each other. Very important. The last thing is also the mobility of the thoracic spine. So how well can this upper part of your spine move? This part of your spine needs to be able to rotate. It needs to be able to side bend, whereas your low back doesn't do that as much. It's just not in the design of the lower back. But if you keep this area of your spine mobile by doing some work in deep breathing, expanding the rib cage, getting someone to work through those little spaces between the ribs to help you open up the chest, you're going to notice some improvements in your low back as well. As we get older, each decade of life, there's going to be some more progressive and typically predictable changes throughout the lumbar spine and throughout the thoracic spine. Lumbar being the lower spine, thoracic being the upper spine, and then cervical being the neck, the highest part of the spine that tops it off. They're going to be predictable changes. There's a lot of things that you can do to decrease that. A lot of that happens as some of the connective tissue and the cartilage start to degrade over time. It's unavoidable to a certain extent, but sitting less for one thing, getting up and moving more is going to help you. Doing some weight training and flexibility training, all are certainly going to help you with that. Weight-bearing exercises will also help you with that as well. Moving throughout your body, doing whole body workouts can help you as well. There is emerging evidence too, and common sense, that diet can play a large role in the quality of the contents in the disc, in terms of how much nutrition gets to the disc, because there's not a lot of nutrition that gets to the disc directly. Also, making sure that you're keeping your blood pressure under control, you are exercising regularly, because there are tiny little arteries and veins that surround the spine that can help decrease pain. Those are one of the first vessels in the body that will start to occlude when people start to developing heart disease. Besides for guys, the genitals. So if those are some very small vessels that start to occlude, and now we're seeing that is a significant contributor to vascular related pain. So very important that you're eating lots of fruits and veggies, get fiber in your diet. All these little things, they seem overwhelming, but if you take one step at a time and you start to introduce them sequentially over a period of several years, you're making an intelligent investment in yourself and in your future, and it's never too late to start. So if you haven't started doing some of those things, I encourage you to do it now. Now is the best time to do it. I'd love to hear what you're doing to help maintain the health of your spine, what you're doing to help yourself through the aging process, whether even if you're younger than 20 and you're watching this, and I don't have many viewers on here when I look at that are under 25, but if you are, it's a great time to start to invest in your future. And no matter where you are in the aging spectrum, I'd like to hear what you're doing to help the health of your spine and help keep yourself pain-free as you go through the decades. So leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell me a little bit more about your spine care routine, what it is that you do to take care of yourself. This has been another episode of Learn Your Body Thursdays. Thanks so much for joining us today, guys. Tomorrow is Talking Gut Immuno Fridays, TGIF. Tomorrow I'm going to give you a very nice recipe for a lemon ginger honey tea that's great for IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and anybody that's having indigestion, those kind of things can certainly help with that. So really simple recipe. Check that out tomorrow if you're interested in a little bit more about gut health. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a fantastic day, guys.